Welcome to our webinar on West Virginia electronic filing. We will be getting started here now that our recording is going on. My name is John Street. I'm one of the folks on the team at the West Virginia Supreme Court. This training webinar is provided by the Supreme Court of Appeals of West Virginia in conjunction with the West Virginia State Bar. Our big thanks to the folks at the State Bar for making this possible. In this hour, we will be covering the whys, whats, wheres, and hows of e-filing. We will touch on some account management best practices, and we will look at how to file step by step three different filing processes: a complaint, a motion, and a proposed order motion, that is to say, a proposed order in support of that motion. Why e-file? There are many reasons why the Supreme Court of Appeals of West Virginia has sponsored and is implementing this project. The reasons include a more efficient and transparent judicial system, as well as uniformity across the state and better communication between counties, as well as conservation of resources, time and money. E-file is the shorthand way of referring to a unified electronic filing and case management system. It is, when it's in place in an active e-filing county, it is for circuit and family courts, and it includes all case types. We are currently in 34 counties. The system is currently in 34 counties. This training today is in preparation for Mingo County becoming the 35th county to be active in the e-file system. That date is scheduled for Monday, January 31st, 2022. And that'll, of course, make 35 counties. A few notes. Paperless does not necessarily mean no paper. Of course, we think of e-filing as a paperless system. However, pro se litigants, self-represented litigants will continue to walk paper into the circuit clerk's office. Also, documents that need to be filed under seal should be, your screen says paper filed, that is paper filed or delivered to the circuit clerk's office, whether it's on paper or in some sort of electronic format. Documents that need to be sealed or filed under seal should not be filed through the e-file application because the e-file application uses a email notification functionality to send a copy of that thing out to all attorneys of record on the case. So if you have a document to be filed under seal, you'll want to get that to the circuit clerk's office, and we would encourage you to work with the circuit clerk's office to provide that to them in whatever way is best for that office. All e-filings will be uploaded and e-filed as PDF files, with the exception of proposed orders, and that we will take a detailed look at in just a little bit. We welcome feedback from anyone who uses the system, and we continually are refining the system in conjunction with the court's third-party vendor. And in fact, a periodic system update will occur this evening. If you're signing into e-file today, you will see that message that there is a maintenance that's going to happen. Nothing anyone on user end needs to do anything about. Those periodic updates happen about every other month, and usually include 20 or so items that are improvements or fixes or enhancements to the system. West Virginia e-file is governed by Trial Court Rule 15A. You can see, you can get an easy link to that rule by going to the West Virginia Judiciary homepage. That's the simple address is courtswv.gov. And on that homepage, there is a link to WV e-file. There you will see an easy way to view the Trial Court Rule 15A, as well as a status map and some other information. We'll have a screenshot of that in just a second. The URL for e-file is this secure site. No need to write it down unless you just want to. That is a vendor-produced site. That's why it's a .com and not a .gov. If you go to the West Virginia Judiciary homepage and link to the e-file information, there's an easy link to get to this URL where you will sign in to the online e-file application. Questions of a technical nature are welcome and should be sent to servicedesk@courtswv.gov. We should mention that if to save yourself time, you may find that you can find your answer on the Supreme Court's website on the e-file information that's available at courtswv.gov. That simply would be www.courtswv.gov. There are many attorney guides, that is to say user guides for step-by-step instruction, frequently asked question documents, FAQ documents, and how to file information. If none of that can answer your question, or if it's still a technical or a functional question, we encourage you to email the service desk by sending an email to servicedesk@courtswv.gov. We'll repeat that email address again. Those are technical or functional questions. If it's a process or a procedural question, we would defer to the circuit clerk, the judge, or the rules for your own determination of how to file or what to file. We're going to take a look now at a few points about registering and managing your account in e-file, as well as managing, or just a note about managing support staff users, those non-attorney users who attorneys can provide the ability to act on behalf of the attorney in the system. This is a kind of an abbreviated screenshot of the West Virginia e-filing sign-on page. In the upper right corner, you'll see circled in red is the register link. If you have already registered, that's great. If you have not, it only takes a couple minutes. We encourage everyone to register, whether you have, whether you're in an e-filing county or not, and go ahead and get that done. Nothing needs to be done when new counties are added to the system. If you're already registered, you're good to go. There just are additional counties added periodically, but there's no need for any action on your part. The new account registration dialog box defaults to a user type of attorney, and that box is going to ask for your bar ID, date of birth, and other information. Your bar ID and date of birth are how attorneys are validated against the information in the West Virginia State Bar membership directory. If we drop that user type menu down, you'll see other user types: pro hoc vice, government, and other. The government user type is at this time very limited, strictly to mostly, I should say, to prosecutors' offices. Just because you're in a government position doesn't mean you would want to pick the government user type. And in fact, that government user type requires some credentials from our team. So if you're a government, if you're an e-file user that would be using that government user type, we would coordinate with you or your office to help you get set up. Non-attorney staff, paralegals, legal assistants, secretaries would want to pick the user type other, and that's going to not ask for any bar ID or date of birth. It's simply going to be an email address and a password of your own creation, and that is encouraged because Trial Court Rule 15A requires each user of the e-file system to have their own unique user ID and password. Looking at the box on the right, there's two boxes, and the one on the left, we apologize, not very helpful here, but the box on the right shows a scenario where there's an attorney registering. They've typed in their bar ID and their date of birth. They've typed or provided their email address. That email address becomes their user ID in the system, as well as the destination for email notifications from the system of filings into cases of which they are an attorney of record. You will provide a password of your own creation as long as it matches those minimum requirements. And when you click next, you should see your personal information reflected in whatever your membership profile reads at the State Bar. That's for attorney users only. Non-attorney users will simply be able to fill this out as they wish with whatever office information they wish to put there. But the attorney information will be pulled from the West Virginia State Bar membership directory. And if there's any changes to be made to that, if there are updates to your principal place of business, you would want to do that, not here, but instead at the West Virginia State Bar membership portal. I'm going to click next on that box, and we have the opportunity to add additional emails. This additional emails step is optional. It doesn't have to be performed during registration. It can be performed at any time after you've registered as well. This will indicate to the system to send a courtesy copy of that email notification to any additional email address that you want to add there. This does not provide act on behalf of functionality. That's a separate functionality, and we will point you to where that those steps are started in the e-file application. This is simply sending a courtesy copy of all notifications to another or other email addresses. Once you've finished all of that and click the button that reads finished, you'll get this message to prompt you to go to your email client and open the verification email. You should really do that right away so you don't forget about it, and so that you have verified your account. You won't be active until you, or you won't be registered fully until you verify your account. Once you have opened up the system generated email that has been sent to your email address, which again, of course, is your user ID, you will get the attorney verification message, and you're ready to sign into e-file. So here we see the screen with our user ID. Again, that's our email address, the complete email address, and our password. And we click login, and we are in the application. This is an example of a fictional attorney with many recent filings. Those recent filings that you see in the middle of the screen are going to display the 10 most recent filings. Your entire filing history is under the history drop-down menu in the middle of that toolbar, just to the right of the emails button. Emails, by the way, that button will provide you with an exhaustive list of all email notifications that the system has sent to you. We have dropped the account drop-down menu down, and in that account drop-down menu are a number of things that are worth making a mention of. Manage credit cards and view available credit cards are the first two options. Filing fees and service fees are paid for by credit card in the system. You have the ability to store your credit card in the system. It's actually stored on a third-party PCI compliant website. And there's a 5 cent per use, 5 cent per filing fee or activity fee. Every time you file something with a charge, there's a 5 cent charge for storing your credit card information, but it saves you some time having to type that in, or you can leave it, not do that, and type that credit card in manually each time. You are able to change your password under this account drop-down menu. Right below change password are the two places where we would add attorneys would add users to act on their behalf. Attorney users are going to select manage staff and enter the user ID of their staff person who is being granted the ability to act on behalf of that attorney. Act on behalf of meaning file, e-file for that attorney. So the attorney will click on manage staff and add the staff user ID. The staff user will then sign into e-file, go to their account drop-down menu, click on act on behalf of attorney, and there they will find the user ID of the attorney or attorneys who have provided them with permission and the ability to act on their behalf. Select that attorney, and once that process, that kind of two-step handshake is completed, then that non-attorney staff person is able to file on behalf of that attorney. And you can have more than one attorney in there. A single staff person can act on behalf of any number of attorneys you wish, but each attorney has to add that staff person's user ID under their own attorney account drop-down menu. There are, under settings, under this drop-down menu, there are a number of options, including changing your user ID. If you have a new email address or you change offices, or you would like to manage those additional emails, those additional notification email addresses. Finally, under the bottom of the account drop-down menu is recurring parties. The e-file system allows you to input party information ahead of time. If you're filing on behalf of the same entity, the same party frequently, you can kind of preload that party information under recurring parties and save yourself quite a bit of time, as well as any mistakes that might be made inputting that data manually when you are initiating a new filing where you would need to add that party information. So recurring parties is a handy feature. We'll see a glimpse of how that looks when we are in the complaint filing process here in just a bit. This is a screen grab or screenshot of the West Virginia Judiciary webpage. We've gone to the home page and we've clicked out to the West Virginia e-file information. And near the top of the screen, you'll see some tabs that read CourtPLUS Initiative. That's historic background information about the project, which is called, formally known as the CourtPLUS Initiative, and it's the Unified Case Management Electronic Filing Project. The status tab will give you a way to see active counties. Again, there are 34 as of a week from yesterday. There will be 35 counties active in the system, and that status map is a quick and easy way to see that. The rules tab is an easy way to jump to Trial Court Rule 15A, again, the rule that governs electronic filing in circuit and family courts. And we've displayed the attorney guides tab, and this is just a few of them. There are many more if we were to be looking at this page today that you would be able to go to for step-by-step instruction to e-file various filings, as well as many different frequently asked questions documents. You can see a few of those there, including there's an e-file registration FAQ, an additional emails FAQ, and we have our cursor on that act on behalf of attorney FAQ for step-by-step how-to guide or step-by-step instructions for how to effect that function. Okay, now we're going to take a few minutes to look at step-by-step, looking at how to e-file a complaint. The first thing we see here, this is a different mock-up of the e-file system. We've already signed in as our generic attorney user. This is a menu-driven system, so we're going to float our cursor over the complaints drop-down menu, and we're going to float our cursor over new case, and we are at or hovering over new complaint. Below new complaint, you'll see new petition and other filing options to initiate other case types. All of these filing processes to initiate any case, generally speaking in the system, are very similar. We're going to be looking at initiating a civil case by filing a complaint, but if you were about to initiate perhaps a family court divorce case or domestic proceedings, domestic relations case, excuse me, or a miscellaneous proceedings case in circuit court, or any of a number of case types, all of these filing processes are similar to the complaint filing process in the steps that you take. So there should be some help. This should be, we hope it's helpful for any guiding you through any of those case initiation processes. We're going to click on new complaint, and that's going to bring up the file new complaint dialog box. This is going to walk us through step by step, providing the system with information about where we're going to file our complaint and the information about the parties. The first step is to click that county drop-down list. This list will be will display active counties in the system. The counties, as we already said, are added automatically once you're registered on e-file. As new counties are added, you don't need to do anything. All you'll just notice that there will be more and more counties added to this county drop-down menu. You want to pick your county. We're going to be our mock-up is going to actually be filing into our fictional county that we use for testing, training, and demonstration purposes. Once we've selected our county, we have our case type drop-down menu. These are the three standard case types that are complaint driven. We're going to pick civil, but you can see, of course, administrative appeal and civil appeal for magistrate there as well. Choosing civil in that case type drop-down menu opens up or activates the case subtype drop-down menu. It's labeled complaint type here, but this is the list of standard case subtypes for civil cases. You might notice, and I'm going to back up a page, you might notice there's a little scroll bar on the right side of this drop-down menu. So if you're looking for something below those first bits, we'll scroll down to the bottom and we will look for our case subtype, whatever it might be. Once we've selected that, we're going to leave origin initial filing. We're going to leave that alone. If you were to peek underneath there, it would show a municipal and magistrate court selections. None of those court levels are currently connected to the system at the present time. Every complaint filing is going to be an initial filing for purposes of the functionality of the system. So we're going to leave that default alone, and we're about ready to click next. If we were filing for someone who would qualify or who we think would qualify for a fee waiver, if we were filing for somebody who we were requesting a fee waiver for, we could check the substantial hardship requested affidavit of indigency checkbox. That would prompt the system to require, in addition to our complaint, it would require an affidavit of indigency at the end of the process. And that, of course, would get routed to the clerk for review and an approval, which would then process the complaint filing. We're going to leave that box unchecked so that we can show you the payment structure, and we're going to click next. So the first tab, after the complaint, after the second tab, I should say, is the plaintiffs tab. And this, we're going to simply add our plaintiffs one by one. We're going to click that add button, and we're going to get an add edit plaintiff dialog box. At the top of the very top of the box, the party class plaintiff is grayed out. That's already been selected by the stage of the process we are in. Right below that, we see recurring party. So if we had previously, prior to beginning this filing process, if we had gone to our account drop-down menu and added our party information, we could select that party here, and the box would automatically populate with that party information, saving us time and trouble of entering it manually, as well as saving us the chance to make a mistake in entering that data. We're going to skip that recurring party option and instead take a look at the party type drop-down menu. That defaults to individual. You see other options there, and those would be at your choosing, whatever would be appropriate for your for this particular plaintiff. We're going to leave it with individual, and we're going to fill out some some of the individual's information. Notice we've got a first name and a last name. We've skipped a middle name and a suffix. We didn't put any notes in there, although we could. The fields that you see displayed or filled in are the required fields: city, state, and zip, the address line number 1. Social security number and phone number are not required fields. You can enter them here, but they are not required fields. A social security number that's entered here would display, once the case is in the system, it would display for the party information only the last 4 digits of that social security number. So the first 5 digits would be redacted. Gender is a required field. That's why if we hadn't picked it yet and we tried to click OK, we'd get that little red exclamation point symbol to the right of that field. That's the symbol you'll see throughout the system whenever the system is trying to tell you that it doesn't like what's in that box, or it wants something that isn't in that box. So that's the general error indication to correct whatever is or is not in that particular field. We'll select gender for statistical purposes. That's why it's required for court statistics. We're going to select that and click OK, and we've entered our first plaintiff. And if we had another plaintiff to enter, we would enter the second plaintiff, and the third and the fourth, however we want to go along there. Our scenario is going to stick with one. So we've finished with our plaintiffs. Of course, you see we can edit, select the row and edit that plaintiff information, or delete the plaintiff information if we need to. The order we put the plaintiffs and the defendants in are going to be the order that the case style is automatically built by the system. We have one plaintiff. That's all we're going to enter. So we're going to click Next here, and we are at the Defendants tab. Same process. We're going to click Add. We've got the party type again defaulting to individual. Right below that right below that party type drop-down menu is our service type drop-down menu. So you see here the service types are the same service options that you would have in a non-e-file county. We should note here that the first 5 service types are plaintiff-driven, plaintiff-performed service options. If you, the plaintiff, are going to, or the plaintiff's attorney, are going to print and put in a certified mail envelope and mail yourself the service documents, you would choose plaintiff certified mail. Same for those other plaintiff-driven or plaintiff-perfected service options. Anything that the first 5 start with plaintiff means you, plaintiff or plaintiff's counsel, are going to perform that service yourself. That means when you complete this filing process, if there is service to be done and you've selected one of those plaintiff options, the email notification that's sent back to you with a copy of your stamped complaint is going to include a second attachment. In addition to the complaint and any other filing documents, it's going to have a second attachment, and that will be our service documents. If we chose plaintiff anything, we are going to get a service bundle PDF attachment to that email notification sent back to us. That's where our service documents will be if we choose plaintiff. If we want the circuit clerk to do the certified mail paperwork, or if we want the circuit clerk to forward that to the Secretary of State's office or the sheriff, we would select those other options on down the list. That would, of course, trigger the system to calculate service charges based on whatever number of pages we have and whatever service options we choose. There won't be any service charges calculated if we use the plaintiff options, but if we choose circuit clerk or Secretary of State or sheriff, that will route those service documents to the clerk's office for further processing to get wherever they need to go, and of course automatically calculate those service charges in addition to any filing fee that we may have. We're going to choose plaintiff certified mail here so that we know we are going to get that service document or that service package as an attachment to our email notification when we complete the filing process. We filled out a first and a last name and address information. Again, basic required fields are what you see on the screen. No requirement that you enter a social security number or a phone here, although again, gender is required for court statistics. There's a special accommodation checkbox for each of these parties. If we want to make note on the system generated case information sheet, we can check that box here if need be. We're going to leave it blank and click OK. And if we had additional defendants to add, we would click that add button again and repeat that process as many times as we need to. Once we are finished with defendants, we will click next, and we are at the case information sheet tab, or the CIS tab. This is collecting the remaining information for the system generated civil case information statement. And it's interactive. If we were to check one box, it might trigger other places to open up. Whatever we check here, again, is going to be populated on the system generated case information sheet. In a complaint filing process, there are at least 2 system generated documents. One is going to be the case information sheet. The other is going to be the summons. The civil summons is going to be automatically generated by the system, as well as the case information sheet. We fill this out as needed, click next, and we're at the Documents tab. The Documents tab is where we upload the PDF files of our complaint and any other documents that we are filing with our complaint. We're going to click that Add button, and that's going to bring up an Add Document box. We're going to browse our computer network folders, or wherever we have that PDF file that is our complaint. There we've jumped a couple steps ahead, and we have this. We've found the PDF. We've selected it and clicked Open on the little dialog box that it is displayed in. We are at the document type drop-down menu, and here we are going to indicate to the system that this particular PDF is the complaint. Basic fact, a very obvious one, I hope. The system cannot read your PDF. So it only knows what is a complaint versus a supporting document or other type of document by us telling it that in that document type drop-down menu. We've typed the description. That description is going to become part of the case file. It's going to be the description of this document on the docket entry line that the circuit clerk's office and the judge will see. Once we have that in there, like you see on the screen, we'll click Upload, and that's going to upload, but not yet file, our complaint. We see the complaint is right below that kind of case information sheet waiting to be generated by the system. There's our complaint that we've selected. The PDF name doesn't matter, the file name doesn't matter. We've indicated to the system that this document type is complaint. The size here, it's relatively small, 0.16 megabytes. There is a 10 megabyte per file size limit. That's not per filing process. That's each PDF can be no larger than 10 megabytes. And so if you have a PDF file that is so big that it's larger than 10 megabytes, the system is going to want you to break that up into 2 or more parts. There are other not related to e-file. There are other processes that you can do to shrink that usually, but 10 megabytes per file, per PDF file is the system file size limit. The description that we've typed there again is at the far right end of that complaint row. On the far left end of the complaint row, there's a blue View link. That View button or link is a way for us to view the PDF that we've selected to verify that it is in fact the correct PDF, for example. If we were to click that View link, that would open up in a new browser tab the PDF. Here is our mock PDF complaint, and we have a chance to look at that. We would close that browser, that View browser tab. We don't want to close our e-file tab, or we would lose where we are. Wouldn't be any way for the system to know how to save that where we were in the steps, just so you know. Here we've jumped ahead a couple steps. We've clicked Add again after we closed that view of our PDF of our complaint. We've clicked Add again, and we are going to select our supporting document. Again, the file name does not matter, but here we are selecting supporting document as the document type. That tells the system what that is, that it is in fact a supporting document to be attached along with the complaint to be filed. We've given it a description, and we click Upload, and it's there with our complaint uploaded and ready to be e-filed. We can continue to add documents as need be here. If we're finished with documents, we're going to click Next, and we're going to bounce forward to the payment summary screen. We should mention that if this is a great point before we click File and Pay at the bottom of this tab. It's a great time to go back through all of those tabs if you have any concern about making sure that everything is entered accurately. For instance, you can back up using that back button all the way back to the beginning of your filing. It'll remember where you were. It'll remember all of the things you entered. But it's a great best practice to take a minute to make sure that you've chosen, for instance, the right county. As there is no refund policy, if extremely difficult, and there's no functional way to correct a filing into a wrong county. A complaint filing into a wrong county is not it's not a system functionality. There's no system functionality to be able to correct that. So it's a good idea to go back through and take a look at your county selection, the case type and subtype, to make sure that you are selecting the right case type and subtype. Your party information is correct. It's all good to get that, make sure that's correct here. Once we have checked everything over, we are going to have to check the I agree to no refund policy box. I agree with no refund policy box at the bottom of this. Our payment detail is displayed there. You see the filing fee for a civil case, standard filing fee, combined with the 4% credit card service fee for the total that you see on the screen. Once we check that I agree, that activates that file and pay button in the bottom of the box. When we click file and pay, we're taken temporarily out of the e-file application itself to that third-party PCI compliant website, where we would either review our credit card information that we've already entered or enter it manually in these boxes. Everything that you see pretty standard, as it would be most anywhere nowadays on the internet. Required fields are indicated with an asterisk and so forth. Once we have entered all that information and card information and so forth, we are ready to click that green pay button. When we do that, we will, after a moment or two, we should see our filing has been successfully completed and a chance to print the receipt. That filing receipt, by the way, is going to be stored under that history drop-down menu in the system. So if you click through this box real quick, if you click that OK button really quickly, and then later wanted to go back to your filing receipt, it's there. It will be there. It's stored under the history drop-down menu. If you don't get the filing has been successfully completed box that you see on the screen after a few moments, or if you have any concerns about your having successfully filed your filing, whatever it might be, we would encourage you to email servicedesk@courtswv.gov, and we'll do our best to help you or work with the circuit clerk's office to get your process or procedure question answered if it's not a technical one. We're going to click OK here, and we would go back to the home screen where we would see our most recent filing. At the top of our most recent filings would be, in fact, that complaint, and it should have a status of processed that would indicate as well that it's been successfully filed. We're going to take a minute or a moment to look at the email notification that we would receive, that we received at the end of that filing process. Here you see it's been sent back to us. At the subject line reads notice of complaint filing, and there you see the system generated case number, CC is for circuit court, FC would be family court, then a hyphen, then the 2-digit county code, just an alphabetical list of counties from 01 to 55, indicating the county that we have filed into, the 4-digit year, the case type, letter abbreviation, and then that sequential number. All of that automatically selected by the system or automatically generated by the system. We have, it's been sent back to us, and it's been sent to our additional email. Also received this email notification with these attachments. Our filing.pdf is the electronically stamped copy of our complaint and any other documents that we've included with our complaint. Also, you'll see a second attachment here, that certified mail service attachment. We got that attachment because we chose plaintiff certified mail. Again, that means it's on us to print that service PDF attachment out on our printer and fold it up, put it in the certified mail envelope ourselves. And again, we are getting that attachment because we chose that plaintiff-driven service option. If we were to take a look at that complaint, we would see our complaint with the electronic circuit clerk stamp and date and time, case number, and county. Okay, there's our complaint. We see the status on the far right end of that row is processed. And we are going to proceed now to a few quick reminders. Great idea to review things using the back button before you actually pay for your filing, as there is no refund in the system. Verify documents by using that view link in the documents tab. And of course, you'll have your PDF documents and any other uploaded documents all under 10 megabytes as that file size limit. If you have questions of technical nature, again, that email address will be at the end of the session as well. It's servicedesk@courtswv.gov, and it's displayed in the upper right corner of the e-file application. We're going to take a look now at filing a new motion. The system calls it a new motion, but it's simply a motion to be distinguished from a motion response. We're going to file that motion into our case that we just created. So we're going to pick our county, our case type, our year of the case, the case's initiation, year of initiation, and the case number. That case number box just wants the sequential number for that case. It doesn't need 19-C-1 here. It only wants that sequential number, just so you know. If you tried to put the rest of the typical case number in there, it would bark at you with that little red exclamation point. We've already indicated 19 and C and the county in the box in the drop-down menus above. So we'll click next after we've entered that information. And here we see the case summary. The important thing to note here, of course, the case number and the style and judge on the case are displayed. But right below that information, we see parties notified electronically. These parties will be parties that will receive the email notification of notice of electronic filing automatically when this particular filing process is completed. Parties notified by mail are those parties who will not receive the email notification, either pro se litigants or attorneys who have yet to register on the system. If they are represented by counsel, but the attorney hasn't registered on e-file yet, they're going to not have an email address in the system to send an email notification to. And so this party notified by mail will be your responsibility to notify however you see fit, but they will not receive that electronic notification, is the important point to make here. This is just read only. There isn't anything we can select and act on here. It's just for informational purposes. We're going to click next, and we're going to go forward to our motion tab. The motion type drop-down menu has a lot of motion types in it. Might not have every single one you'll want to indicate for the system. There is an other option in this alphabetical list of motion types. And if you select other, you can type in whatever motion type you wish to indicate in the electronic case file. We've selected our motion type. There's a stern warning there that if it's a motion response, you need to use the motion response filing process. This is a new motion, so we are going to go forward here and not have to worry about that. One note to make about the motion response filing process. The motion response filing process, as the system is currently designed, requires that there is a pending motion to be responded to. And note, if the judge has acted upon that pending motion, it is no longer a pending motion, and it is instead a disposed motion. A disposed motion cannot be related to a new motion, or a motion response in the motion response filing process. So if you were in the motion response filing process and the system is telling you there are no pending motions, there won't be anything on your end from a functionality standpoint that you could do, and you would want to start this process, file a new motion, and then in the motion type, our guidance would be again from strictly a functionality standpoint to select motion type other and appropriately describe your motion response in whatever way you see fit. But again, if there are no pending motions in a case, that motion response process is not going to let you proceed. And that's just a basic functionality fact of the system. We're going to continue in this new motion process by clicking next. And we are now at the parties represented tab. And the parties represented tab should show us the checkbox should be to the left of our party or parties that we are listed electronically as attorney of record for. No need to do anything here if that's correct. We don't want to check the boxes to the left of the other parties who are not ours, because that would cause the system to relate or link us as attorney of record to those other parties. So most of the time, this should be simply a matter of review and no action is needed. If you were filing for the first time into a public case like this one, and there were no check boxes here, you would be able to check the box to the left of your party, and that would electronically link you as attorney of record to that party. But here in our example, no change needs to be made. We are, the box is checked next to our party, so we will continue by clicking next, and we're at the Documents tab. The Documents tab, just like we've seen previously, is going to ask us to click that Add button, where we get an Add Document dialog box. We're going to browse for that PDF of our motion. We're going to select the document type, motion, and give it a description. Click Upload, and here it is. Again, we have a view link on the left end of that row. We've got a size indicator that reminds us about that 10 megabyte per PDF file size limit in the system. And we will, if we're finished with that, we could proceed. If we had additional documents or an attachment, for instance, to this motion, we could add that as well. We're going to click next, and we're at, oh, I'm sorry, we're not going to click next. We're going to click add again. We're going to add that supporting document for our motion. So there they both are. Again, we can review them using the view link if we need to. Once we've completed our documents, we're going to click Payment Summary. Payment Summary tab doesn't have any charge here, so there's no I agree to checkbox to check. There isn't any charge for this particular filing type, so all we need to do is click File, and we get, again, that successfully completed message, which is what we want at the end of our filing process. Once we filed our motion, if we have a proposed order in support of our motion, we can then proceed. Once we filed our motion, we're now ready, if need be, to file a proposed order in support of that motion. That proposed order motion is one of two proposed order types that the system provides to you. You'll see proposed order case and proposed order motion under the proposed orders drop-down menu. Proposed order case is simply a proposed order without a motion associated with it. Proposed order motion would be the filing process we would use if we have already filed our motion and now want to relate or link our proposed order to the motion that we just filed. You'll see two parentheticals at the end of, or a parenthetical phrase at the end of each of those options. Two types of those: RTF editor and PDF. It's only been about 1.5 years or so that PDF proposed orders have been able to be filed, from functionally speaking. RTF editor stands for Rich Text Format, which is just a computer way of saying editable text. So the RTF editor process allows us to file a proposed order as editable text that the judge, if the judge wishes, can edit, and so that the judge can electronically sign that proposed order, which of course we want to happen. Proposed order PDF options cannot be altered or edited or electronically signed by the judge. We would say, from a functionality standpoint, that means that the uses of the proposed order PDF option is very limited, maybe only to where we've already obtained, perhaps in a hearing or in some other way, we've already obtained the judge's signature. The judge hands the order back to us saying, here's my signature, go file this. Or in limited instances, for instance, in mental hygiene, with respect to mental hygiene, or other very limited guardianship cases, instances. The most important takeaway from that is PDF proposed orders cannot be edited or signed by the judge. There isn't any way for the judge to alter in any way in the system currently that PDF proposed order. So if you want the judge to be able to sign your order, if the judge's signature is not already on your proposed order and you would like for the judge's signature to be on that order, you would want to pick the RTF editor process, either proposed order case or proposed order motion RTF editor. That proposed order motion RTF editor is the one we're going to select, and that's going to take us through the same steps. Our case lookup tab wants county, case type year, and case number, just the sequential number. Case summary, again, parties notified electronically and parties notified by mail. Our motion lookup tab is listing all of the pending motions in this case that have yet to be acted upon by the judge that we want to look through and link our proposed order to. In this example, there's only one pending motion. So the system is essentially linking our proposed order by default. If there was more than one pending motion, we would be able to look through that list, find the one that's ours, highlight the row, make it yellow. That's telling the system, link my proposed order that I am about to file to this motion so that the judge receives both of those together and can act on them simultaneously. We're going to click next again, and again we have the parties represented tab. No changes need to be made in this example. We will proceed on to the proposed order tab. This proposed order tab in this RTF editor process wants a description. That description is going to be used in two ways. It's going to be used by the system in the system's assembly of your order in the order editor tab, and it's going to be the description of the proposed order when it goes to the judge. We type our description, which is our title of our proposed order, and we have a couple choices here: operation, new order, or new order custom style. The RTF editor process that we are in now will offer for the filer the system to build your order caption, that's the example that we will see. If we wish to type our own order caption, we would switch that default from new order to new order custom style. We're going to let the system build the order caption, but again, if we have for whatever reason we want to hand type our own order caption, we can do that, but we would have to change to new order custom style. We're going to let the system build it. We're going to leave that default alone, and we're going to click next, and we are in the order editor. Kind of weird text here for the caption. Apologies for that screenshot, but we see highlighted in yellow the system generated order caption, and we see if we were to scroll down, let me back up there, sorry. If we were to scroll down in this order editor, we would see the title text, placeholder text for our order title right below that system generated order caption. There's a full screen button on this. If we wish to, we could click that and we could make that full screen a little easier to see. There's an import button at the bottom of this box. That import button is a way for the system to bring in just the body of your order. Remember, the system, in our example, the system has generated the caption for us, and we've typed the title in the preceding step. So we do not need to bring the text of the order that includes the caption. We only want the body of that proposed order to be brought into that order editor. So we have created that order, just the body without the caption. That's not necessary to bring in this example. We've created that, we've already written that proposed order and saved it as a file. If you're a Microsoft Word user, your default .doc or .docx file type should be just fine. If you are a WordPerfect user, you will want to save your text as a .rtf file, or if it's a .odt, you should be fine as well. But we've got the body of that order. We've browsed on our computer to find that Word or WordPerfect document or whatever the Word file is. We're going to leave that form insert default alone. If we wanted to replace everything, including the caption and the title and the judge's electronic signature line, we could do that with that other option, body replace template. We don't want to do that. We want to leave the system generated caption and the title in place and only bring in the text of the body of our order. And we're going to go ahead and click OK, and that would insert our we've scrolled down a little bit in our order editor here, but that would insert our order body into that order editor step of the process. This is where it's kind of sort of should look a little bit like a kind of a generic word processor. This is where we would make changes or edits. If we need to move things around or edit things in any way, we would do that here in the order editor. The import function, that import button at the bottom of the screen, should do a pretty good job of maintaining formatting in your original document. So it's kind of hard to see, but we've got italics. We might have some bold text or underlined or block text or a numbered list. Any of those features in that original document are better, usually better maintained or better preserved by using that import functionality as opposed to copy and paste. It will usually result better if you use that import function. We are required to preview our order at least once. We would recommend as many times as you make changes in this order editor to go to the bottom of that box and click that preview button as many times as you need to make sure that the order looks the way you want it to look. Here, if we click the preview, here is the preview of our order. If we were to make that a little bit bigger, we would see the system generated caption and the title that we have typed and provided to the system. The system has generated the caption and has taken our title and center justified it below the system generated caption. And then we would scroll down and we would see our order, and we'd scroll through this, make sure it looks okay. This is just for viewing to make sure that the order looks okay. But if we need to make changes, again, we would close that preview and we would go back to our order editor tab and we'd make those edits and changes as need be here in the order editor tab. Once everything looks good, again, the system's going to require you to preview it once, but we would recommend previewing it as many times as you need to make sure it looks fine. Once we have finished with our text of our order, we'll click Next, and we are at the last step of that proposed order motion RTF editor filing process. That's the Documents tab. This is our opportunity to attach any PDF files that we want to attach to our order. Whatever those may be, parenting plan, financial statement, and any kind of exhibit or memorandum or brief or whatever it might be. One example that we see frequently is, and this would be at the discretion of the judge, we would encourage you and the judge to work this out. This is not a requirement, but if you have an agreed order, you can include the text of that order in the order editor step, the preceding tab step, and then a paper copy or other PDF representation of that agreed order could be scanned or printed off and scanned and uploaded as a PDF attachment here as evidence, if you will, to the judge that in fact the agreed order has been signed by all the parties at the conference table or whatever the scenario might be. But at any rate, this Documents tab is not where we would want to attach our order itself. We want the proposed order to be in the order editor, not in the Documents Attachments tab. This is for attachments to the order, and they have to be PDF. If we want to add those, we'd click Add and walk through that process like you've seen previously. Once we're ready to file that order, we click File, and we again get, as we hope to get, that successfully completed message. And that means that our order has gone to the judge along with the motion. And both of those documents, if we were to go back to our home page, we would see the status for the motion and the proposed order should be at this point judge review. That means that those are awaiting the judge's review and action. We click OK, and we're back at the home screen. We're going to click forward to the last slide of our presentation. And we have a few minutes left. I don't see any questions from the audience via the Zoom chat functionality, but we just want to, on your screen, you'll see the Supreme Court's webpage. There's a lot more there than you need. Just go to courtswv.gov. On the homepage of the West Virginia Judiciary homepage, you will see a link to WVE file, and that will provide you with a way to get to all of those attorney guides, that status map, a quick way to jump to Trial Court Rule 15A, and other resources. If you can't answer your technical question on the e-file page of the court's website, we encourage you to email our team via the IT service desk email, which is servicedesk@courtswv.gov. We really want to thank everyone for your attention, time, and attending today's meeting. Now, we have one question via chat